Welcome back, everybody. Monte's Gems. We have a special guest here today. This is actually one of the people who as I think about this, have known for the longest, probably in Sturgis, Michigan. Like one of the first people I actually met in my own individual life at Trinity in kindergarten. And so me and Brett Scheske, we've grown up together. We ventured through sports, high school, and golf. And so, like, one thing as I was thinking about this that made Brett unique, and I've always tried to understand, like, he's just different than everybody else that I've ever met. And one of the big things is his creativity. So growing up, Brett is someone who, if I were to ever think, okay, what job am I going to see Brett doing? Who's he going to be working for? It was like, well, he's not going to be working for anybody. He's going to have his own business. He's going to be an entrepreneur, because if he's in a 9-to-5 job, he's going to say something to someone the wrong way, and it's going to piss him off, and he's going to have to go find another job or go work somewhere else. But it's always been that appreciation that I've appreciated in you, and I think me in pursuing sports and stuff, is that I don't think you ever limited yourself to what you could possibly do. And you always were creating more opportunity, or always looking for opportunity in just anything, whether it was making people laugh, your sense of humor, or what business. Like, where do you think a lot of that mentality came from?
I mean, we were talking before the podcast. I think never, I took myself, I was telling Amanda, I was the smartest I ever was, like in third grade, because I was so worried about not being able to read. I could read. Was it third grade you can read? Maybe. I don't know what it is. But I was so worried about not being able to read, not being able to do things, that I would force myself to do things. And I was one of the smarter kids in class. And then for some reason, I stopped taking myself so serious, whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, but I tapped more into my creative side. I don't think I regret that. But I did peak like academically when I was in third grade, which I find interesting. But the creative side I get from my mom. I mean, genetically, I get it from my mom. I mean, my mom was an aspiring actress. She was in multiple musicals, plays, all throughout high school. Went to college, got a degree in English, and then taught plays, musicals, and all that. And then wanted to become an actress, married my dad, and the rest is history. And I didn't start tapping into that actual creative side and think of it as a career until I was out of college, because growing up with you, we play sports, right? So my dad was into sports, and that's what I did my entire, adolescent. And then I started to tap into the creative side. Where do I get it from? I think we're all creative in a way. Like we all are definitely creative. But it's finding, like, if you want to make a career out of it, you have to find out what you're good at creatively. I didn't know I was going to have my own business. I didn't know that I was going to be making videos. I just knew that I liked writing. I knew I liked movies. I knew I liked comedy. I liked all that stuff. So I started trying a bunch of different things in college. I started making videos. I was a minor in film. I started writing plays. I kind of had my fishing pole in a lot of different ponds, and then all of a sudden, I had my own. And then I started a company with you, Freak Athletics. We started that. That was kind of like the first. That was me meshing my athletic side with my creative side right there, right? Because I know sports, I knew creativity. But no, I think, like, creative people, some take themselves really seriously, some don't. Everyone's different. At Trinity, you said, what did you say when you opened up the show? I feel like I still owe apologies to people at Trinity when I'm growing up. I never knew how to tactfully tell someone when they're acting like an idiot. Let's just say that. So, like, I wasn't the type of. I still feel like I was probably considered a bully at Trinity, but in my mind, I was very creative when it came to telling someone they're acting really stupid. And that came off as me being a complete dick, which, if I were to pull myself outside, if we had film of it, I probably was being a dick. It wasn't anything that, me, I'm a nice guy. I've got a good heart, and I that's how I rationalize this. But at Trinity, I would just, it was different. It wasn't me. A bully is you know what a bully is? A bully is when you're just picking someone and you're being a jerk. If someone has a disability, if someone is doing something that they can't control and you're going after them, like you're just being a bully. You're being a jerk. My I always defend myself. My bully side was more creative, and it wasn't me being malicious. It was just me calling people out all the time. I'm probably doing it way too much. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I don't know where you guys stopped listening or where we got cut off. But
So
it was
you were
me.
talking about it in Trinity where you were essentially using your sense of humor, but to you, you felt like it was being creative, where other people may not have felt like it was being that creative. And
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know what I mean? Like, you tell me, like, because you were saying how I was creative at Trinity, but obviously I was creative in some not nicest of ways. But I always felt like when someone acted dumb or was doing something stupid, I would call them out on it. Probably wasn't the best thing to do either way, but at least it was in a creative way. But I mean, what do you remember about those days?
Well, when I was thinking about it, it wasn't just mainly thinking about your sense of humor, but I always remember when it came time for reports, like you pretty much would blow everybody away in the reports that you would do. And sometimes I was thinking, I was like, dude, like, is his mom helping him write this, or is he doing this all on his own? And then I finally realized as you got older, I was like, dude, it was just your sense of creativity that you aspired to do all of those things. And I was like, all right, dude, I can't come up with any of that crap. So it's just like, okay, that was amazing. And like, I think your sense of style too, right? So we all express ourselves in different ways. And so maybe it doesn't seem like it was creative, but I think it was always, you seemed like you were always going against the norm and just trying to fit in. And I think, how did you describe it? Where you stopped taking yourself so seriously, right?
Yeah, well, first, you were right. That had a lot to do with those performances, those reports. I mean, she would help me a ton, but again, that was probably her living through me a little bit too. Like she just liked to perform, and then I didn't really like it. I mean, she was the brains behind a lot of it, but I learned a lot from her from it, and I didn't appreciate all that until I graduated from high school, and I was like, well, I'm not going to be a professional basketball player because I'm 5'9" and I'm white, which in hindsight, I should have stuck with tennis. I didn't do that. But no, my mom had a big influence on that. I don't know. What was the second part of your question?
Well, no, I think going into high school, you were performed like on stage at like the homecoming events where you were one of the peoples with the mic, right?
Yeah, we did. In high school, I did that, but I was also in Playmakers, which my mom taught kids how to act. But I was actually stage crew the first like 2 years. I didn't want to be on stage, but eventually I got on stage and I didn't love it. And I still don't like being like on camera necessarily, even though for what I do now, I do have to act when we have low budget commercials, don't have enough money to hire an actors, I'll act as long as our client is okay with it. So I do some acting, but I don't love it. I'd much rather be behind the camera. But no, my mom influenced me heavily. I didn't take myself too seriously. I still don't take myself too seriously, and I think that helps with me being able to not just joke around, but I feel like I kind of have thicker skin. I can take jokes. My family's really conservative, and we all get along very well. I'm definitely the black sheep when it comes to, thinking a little more, I don't want to say outside the box, but, just not, we come from a very traditional background, right? Church, which I still go to Trinity. But I'd be the one to investigate that more. I'd be the one to be able to listen to somebody. Not that my parents couldn't, because they'd be able to listen better than I would. But mentally they'd just be like, well, we'll listen, but we're not going to change. And I don't think I would change a lot of my ways either, but I would at least. The older I get, the more I almost embrace those conversations. I know I'm getting off on a tangent, but that's. I'm open-minded to things, and I feel confident enough where I'm confident in myself and who I am that I can be open-minded and listen to other people. One, without getting pissed off, and two, knowing that some people just want to talk and you need to listen. And that's sometimes what people need. I don't need to disagree with them, even though I might. Now that was totally different at Trinity when I didn't agree with somebody. I told them right away that man, that you sound stupid. Like this is I can think of a number of examples where I just disagreed and you talked also about like I was always doing different things. One thing I've always mentally had was I don't want to be like most people. Like I don't in any way, shape, or form. Whether that world's a sinful place. Like, I'm not being judgmental in any way, but I just don't want to be like a lot of people in that way. And then creativity wise, like, I do a lot of writing and I don't do a lot of reading. So I'm a writing major. I'm a creative writing major. And this sounds very narcissistic, but the only writing I would really like to read in college was my own. And I don't mean that because I thought I was the best writer in the world, because I'm not. I'm not even very good at writing. It was just because I was always practicing and wanting to do something different. I felt if I was reading all these books and getting influenced by all these books, then my writing is going to sound a lot like other people's writing. And so I've had that mentality in everything I do. When I started doing film, I saw that a lot of filmmakers didn't know a lot about sports. You know, freak athletics. That's kind of what our thing was. Like, we're filming high school sports, and I saw a lot of videos on high school sports, and I'm like, man, I think I can do something, or we can do something a lot cooler, a lot better than this, and it's going to be totally different. So having that mentality has helped, because I'm always thinking of different ways to be creative, and it's getting a lot more difficult in this day and age, especially with AI. I don't know if you looked into that, but the creative space is in, I don't want to say it's a lot of trouble, because you have to kind of embrace it. In my company, you know, we're not using AI right now, but it's something we have to be open to 100%. Like, we have to investigate it to figure out, like, you know, there's people who write jingles now who don't have it. Used to write jingles for a living for whatever restaurants. And I know one guy who heard AI, got an AI app, and he goes, yeah, I quit my job. I'm like, why? He goes, because AI does it better than me. And so he's just going to have to start. Yeah, that's how good AI is. With video, I mean, you can do cool AI stuff with video. I don't think that's in too much trouble with what we do. But music, like, if I were into music, I mean, if I'm a DJ, I mean, dude, go look up some of this AI stuff and what you can do with music. It's insane, and it takes you 5 minutes to write a song. 5 minutes. And if you're a DJ, I feel like DJs were onto this a long time ago, because I'm not a huge fan. I like DJs. I just don't think it's like this massive skill set. And I'm sure a lot of DJs who might be listening to this want to kick me in the dick for that, saying that. But, you know, I look at someone like Benson Boone, the musician. I see him go on stage, and I'm like, dude, that guy is a freaking talent. He's awesome. Like, I watch this guy. He's really, like, awesome. A DJ's like, I don't know, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, dude, start diving down that AI rabbit hole, and it's crazy what the creative space is looking like in my industry because of AI. And you have to embrace it. I mean, times change, and you got to do what you got to do.
Well, I think if you were to put yourself in your high school shoes, I remember you were writing like movies, trying to produce, like the ability that you would have to be able to produce your own movies now with AI and the custom, essentially, animation that you could create for in high school is just mind blowing, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, so I was in a film class in high school, and we went from literally like a tape deck, and we'd have to like record, stop, download it onto a computer. And then I got into college, and they actually had flash drives, and I could actually take a little chip, but start adopting that, because pretty much anyone can do animation now. Now with actual film, where you're using actors, you're shooting television commercials, I don't think you're at a point yet where you can actually. It would just look cheesy if you're using AI characters at this point. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's far off, which would suck, because that's really our niche, is creating television commercials and you know, actual linear social media content, visual social media content that's not animated. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But again, whatever it is, I'll try using AI in a way that people don't, or I'll just try being better at it than other people, which not something I'm looking forward to trying at all.
And when you think about like taking yourself too seriously, Brett, like what does that mean to you, like even deeper? Like is it trying to be more confident in yourself? Is it just trying to like not being so insecure? Like how would you relate that to the normal person to be able to understand that?
Well, I think honestly, like, you have to not take yourself too seriously. Otherwise, you're going to be upset, angry. You're not going to be in the best mood all the time. At least I know when I get uptight and I get ticked off about something, I'm taking something that's not life or death way too seriously. And, I just turned 40. The older, maybe it's me getting a little wiser. And then also getting really annoyed with what cancel culture was. And we can go into that if you want. I don't care. But like that whole, genre just annoyed me to death. And I got to a point where like, one, I'm not going to let this annoy me. But two, that's another reason why I'm not going to take things serious. I mean, I take my job serious. I take my faith serious. I feel like I take the right things in life serious. But the older I get, the more I realize like you need to laugh at yourself. You can't get offended easily. It's just a waste of time. It is, and it's easier said than done. But I don't think any of us are that important enough to really take ourselves too seriously. Like we're just not like.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I was going to ask you with, your sense of humor and with cancel culture over the past few years. Like I found myself like really trying to maybe become less of myself and try to be more guarded because I don't want to offend people in your industry. And I guess, your enjoyment for always like just being funny and doing that. Do you feel like you've had to try to guard yourself and protect maybe your business and what it stands for, just in how you might offend somebody or anything like that?
No, I mean, that's one of the nice things about having your own business is if someone doesn't agree with my something I said or did or a video we produced, which again, we're not producing highly offensive videos. So, but we have ran some behind the scenes videos that people could find offensive. I mean, it's kind of like The Office. The Office was the producers of The Office have said that they couldn't run that show or get away with that show in this day and age, even though it's being run on TBS still. So obviously they could, but it's similar to that with that kind of I don't want to say vulgar sense of humor, but that towing the line of what someone would maybe call racist. We had like one of our interns was a Hispanic, and we'd joke with him about him being Italian, not Hispanic, and stuff like that, and he thought it was hilarious. And I mean, it's just like people have to use their discretion with things. Like you need to use your discretion, and you need to understand like what the situation is before you throw any labels on it. That's one thing I've learned, and people don't do that. That's why the news sucks. Like you get a little bit of the story, and you don't get the rest. And with what we do at Hype, it's like we're our own business, and we're not going to purposely do anything to go after anybody. And we're going to put some stuff out there every once in a while that we enjoy doing, we think is funny. If you don't like it, don't watch it. But we haven't had any client leave us because of a behind the scenes video of a Hispanic intern who we call Italian. That hasn't happened yet. So maybe it will after this podcast, but we'll move on from it.
Could you have ever seen yourself doing anything else other than working for yourself?
Oh, man, no. But that being said, this is kind of depressing, I guess. When I was, it's kind of like an eye opener for me in a way. But no, I don't like to work for people. I have a lot of ideas, and if my ideas aren't heard, that's one thing that does annoy me. But I've never really been in like a job where my boss was, I worked for Sigris Furniture. It's not like Dick Messer. It's like, ooh, what can we do to sell more furniture, Brett? Wasn't anything like that. And I worked at a movie theater too. And it's like, well, these were all jobs I had in college. So, but no, my parents had a time capsule. But I think when I was like, I want to say 12, we did a time capsule, and it was like, what do you want to be when you get old? What are you going to be in 10 years? What is your life going to look like? And I think I think we opened it when I was 25, and I just graduated from college. And my brother already had a job. My sister was in high school. Anyway, we opened it, and everyone opened theirs. And my brother Matt was like, I want to be banking, and he's a banker now. And I was like, yeah, Matt's a banker. No big deal. and Kate and Dan were too young, so they opened theirs. And I think theirs was like, I want to go to college someday or whatever. And I opened mine, and I was like, so I'm 25. just out of college. I'm detasseling. My boss in detasseling is a 19-year-old kid named Drake Miller, who was my water boy in high school basketball. So he's my boss, okay? And I was in Florida right before that, and I dislocated my kneecap playing basketball, and I was uninsured for the first time in my life on top of it, okay? So really didn't have a job, whatever. Life sucked. And I opened up this time capsule, and it says, Brett wants to be an NBA basketball. No, it says, I will be in the NBA playing basketball for the Detroit Pistons. I will be Oh, I also got out of a serious relationship with the girl I thought I was going to marry too, like a month before this. It says, I will be married to the love of my life, and we will begin having our first child. So that's where I was when I was 25. And no, my mind wasn't on this. I need to work for myself. And my mind was, I need to do what I want to do creatively and try doing things I want to do, because my life sucks right now. I wish my mom kept the time capsule, but I'm pretty sure I just threw it away. I'm like,
Yeah.
in the trash. It was a moment. Let me tell you, it wasn't a great moment, but I mean, I'm glad I can laugh about it now, and I'm not still thinking about that. So.
But I don't think if you ever would have had that dream of trying to play in the NBA, I don't think your family did this, and it was definitely something our dad didn't ever do, is where he set limitations. It was like, oh, you want to play professional baseball? Like, just forget about it. Like, do this, go the easy route, go do that. It was like, okay, if that's what you want to do, I'll support it. Go try it and go do it. And it was that desire to play in the NBA, which has allowed you to not set any limitations on what you can do with work or what you can do with creating a clothing line or what you can do for the community. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, my parents, and probably similar to your parents, never once told me that's stupid. Never once told me like that. I mean, if anything to be like, well, if you want to do that, you're gonna have to put your butt off for it. But when it came to like being a professional basketball player, I'm sure my dad was looking at me saying, "You're 5'9", 137 pounds as a senior in high school, and try something else." He never said that. Like, he's like, go to Glen Oaks, whatever, try playing. And then my mom, on the other hand, later in high school, I started doing some writing, and my writing really was not very good. Like, I look back at some of the stuff I wrote, it just sucked. But I think my mom could see potential in me, and I'd be like, Mom, this is true. I told her, like, why isn't there a Goonies 2? Like, I love the movie The Goonies. I'm in high school, so I'm not like a little kid thing. I'm just thinking, like, why hasn't someone written one? And my mom goes, you know what? You should write a Goonies 2. If someone like I knew in the creative space, right, like even like my age, wanted to write a Goonies 2, I'd say, good luck. Like, okay, like, right, like, who's going to produce it? Who's going to produce a Goonies 2? How are you going to get it right? Like, there's so many things. But my mom was like, go ahead and write a Goonies 2. So even my pipe dreams, my parents supported, but they were definitely concerned. I mean, when I was 25 and my dad wanted me to get a traditional job, and he would tell me that, but they weren't saying, don't do this, don't pursue that. They were still letting me, not that they had a choice, but they were still, supporting what I was trying to do, especially with Freak and other things. But I also think, like, there's two things to that, though. If you don't have potential and you just suck at it, I think I just sucked at some of this stuff, my parents would have told me. My parents would have directed me in another direction. Like, I don't know an example, but if I like started to try singing, I can't sing. And if my parents heard me sing and I wasn't good, I'm sure they wouldn't have been as blunt as I would have been with like my brother or sister or someone at Trinity and said, dude, like, go get a job at Hano because you can't, like, they would have said, yeah, why don't you like maybe write songs? Because you're a good writer, so why don't you write them? And then it's like with Freak, when we were doing Freak, that was like a good idea, but it was just like it was a much bigger undertaking than I think we knew like we could take on. We needed a bigger team. My parents said, hey, we love what you do with Freak, it's really good, but don't you think there's a lot more money in actual commercials, like making commercials for businesses, not going after high schools. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, you're right. And I was kind of hesitant to do it. But then I got a gig with Glen Oaks to do a video, and the rest is history. So it was actually them nicely pushing me, saying, you're good at it, but why don't you try making money by doing it over here? So I think that's, and I've always said my parents are awesome. Like, they've always been supportive. But again, I think if I wasn't good at something, which I'm not good at a lot of things, they'd tell me. And in a way like I just described, they'd push me in another direction.
But did you sense that a lot from most of the, I would say, families that we grew up with inside of our family? It felt like we were just in a very fortunate area to where most of our friends, parents, everybody was super supportive, even inside of the community. Like, it felt like everyone kind of was always had your back or was watching out for everybody else's children. And I think that's one of the things I wanted to kind of hear your views on, how much you appreciated growing up in a small town.
Well, I think two things, like, times have definitely changed, but social media brings out the negative in everything. And when you have access, I always say parents ruin Facebook. Facebook used to be college kids only. And then parents got on it, and that's when all the drama happened. I mean, that's why a lot of people like Instagram, because it's still not as, it's a younger generation, and it's not as, people shitting on each other and stuff like that. I mean, people still do it. But I think social media, and this, I sound like a cliche, but I think social media really brings out the negative in people. And, even with parents, you could go to a game with a parent that you're good friends with, and when they post something on social media that just rubs you the wrong way, I think that deep down, that does affect how you look at them, and that will affect your relationship in a way. Like, you still might be friends, but we didn't have social media back then. So anything my dad or your dad might have said about each other, because they were good friends, but maybe they said something, that was public to you guys, or said something. Maybe your dad said something about my dad just to you. Now that stuff can get on social media. So we don't have that. We didn't have that temptation. And I'm not saying we would have been bashing people back then, but there was none of that, which was great. And then, yes, on top of that, we had good parents. We had a community who was really into sports. We had talented kids. We had smart kids, not that we don't anymore. And we had motivated kids. We had motivated parents. Like, parents wanted to be involved. And again, with coaching, we had our parents coach, but our parents knew what they were doing. And there was never pressure from other parents. All the pressure from parents these days is, yes, it's at the games, but I feel like a lot of it stems from social media, because parents can gang up and they can be like, yeah, I thought the same thing. You're right. This coach does suck. Yeah, and they all group together. So I think social media is a big. But that being said, I wouldn't have a business without social media. So there's good aspects to it. But from a community standpoint, I don't think there's anything good about that social media brings to this table, other than highlights new businesses that are in town. But for connecting a community, I mean, one of the, again, I'm getting off on a tangent, but one of our clienteles is Shipshewana. We have a lot of clients, I should say. We have a lot of clients in Shipshewana. And, some of the Amish use social media and stuff, and we actually run some social media for them. But it's the most tight-knit community I've ever been in. Very, very religious, but it's such a trusted community. They have the flea market and everything, and they have people come from all over the world just to see them. In the summer, they don't lock anything up at the flea market. They don't lock anything up at like everything's outside. They trust everyone, and there's like never any crime. So I'm saying social media is less prevalent in that area of all areas because of Amish. But look how tight that community has been back whenever it started till now. There's a rich history, and I've interviewed people who go to who's in the school system there. I've interviewed alumni. They're all incredibly nice, and they can't say enough about how close their community is. So one common denominator, A, religion, which I think is huge, and then B, they're kind of out of the social media element. I mean, to a point, I would say maybe 50%. I mean, which is a decent amount. So
That's interesting because I guess removing myself from a small town of 11,000 people, coming down here to Miami, Florida, to where it's just everybody and anything goes, and there's absolutely no moral compass or anything like that. And so I think when growing up, I was like, I wish there was more to do. I wish there was more stuff. And then I come down here and it's like, dude, this is just too much. Like nobody cares about anybody. Everybody is sitting here trying to compete for themselves. Like, hey, everybody just wants to have a dog. Nobody has families down here. And it's that idea. It's like, wow, what happened? Is it like this all around? Or I miss Sturgis, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting at. In that small town feel, the community where my friends' parents were looking out for everybody. And you don't feel like it still has that?
I mean, so I think it does, but you hear it. No, it's not what we were used to. Absolutely not. Is there still a small town community feel? I would say it's coming back. I would say it's coming back to a point, but again, it's really about how you surround yourself with. So, at the country club, we've got a good group of people our age out there now, families out there too, who are trying to kind of revive it and make it what we want. On a side note, we're kind of running into a clash between generations. You have an older generation who doesn't want to change. You have a younger generation who wants to embrace the older generation, but we want to do our fucking thing too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to be blunt. But as far as like the city of Sturgis, you hear like, if you want to know whether you should come back to Sturgis or not, don't go on social media and like Google it. Just don't. I don't. I mean, don't go to Facebook. Don't go to Facebook and and join the community group, and which is actually getting better. But man, do I feel that vibe? No, but that might change. I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, so I'm not that ingrained into that yet. I'm 40 now, but 5-6 years ago, I didn't have any kids, and I was 5 years married, and we just had some friends around here. Not that many friends, but some friends around here. But I guess that's something I'll learn over the next 5-10 years.
Because I guess even when I come back home to visit, I mean, obviously social media removed, I'm not really part of that. But going to the grocery store, it's like, dude, like my grocery store visit's still going to be like an hour because I see people that I know every single time I go there, and there's still that aspect to be able to connect and get to talk to people and stuff. And like down here in South Florida, it's like there's no real deep connection because everybody is transient. They're coming, they're going, they're leaving, they're here, they're for a year, 2 years, they're gone. And so it's that feel, man.
I think I don't want to say take it for granted, but it's kind of, maybe it's just like it's normal. Like, yeah, I go to Meijer and I see 5-6 people I know, and depending on the mood I'm in, I'll say hi to one of them. Like,
Yeah.
not because I don't want to see them, but it's just like, I'm busy. I've got shit to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I would definitely miss that. It's like grass is always greener on the other side. I love city life. I really do. Like, I love going to Grand Rapids. I'm going to New Orleans here with a buddy. I'm with Chris Clancy. I go to Vegas twice a year. But I wouldn't want to live in a big city, especially with a family, and my wife would never want to do that either. But I still like those moments, but I like them in a smaller quantity. Does that make sense? So
yeah, few and far between.
Yeah, few and far between. But also, what's really helped out here is I love being out on Klinger. And yeah, if you were to come back, you would love being out with the group we have out on Klinger. And I don't want to segregate Klinger from Sturgis. I mean, I still like being a part of the Sturgis community, but I absolutely love being out here on Klinger. I love being at the club. I love going to the pool. Even I love golfing, obviously, but we drive our golf cart over to the pool at Klinger, and I just like being out here. It does have a community vibe within our demographic for sure. But
Well,
go ahead.
Jake, Isaac, and Josh had members out at Klinger at one point in time.
Yeah, I think then 2 years ago.
You guys all got pissed off and left, right?
Well, they got pissed off and left, so I was just kind of out there by myself.
Well, they get pissed off.
Well, because they would call, they were asked to call to schedule a tee time whenever they would go out there. So every day that they would go out to golf, they would always call and schedule a tee time. And so the one day they went, they scheduled the tee time, and they showed up for their tee time, and somebody in the I guess Pat wasn't there, so they had somebody else. Yeah, I'm not gonna name drop, but anyways, and they scheduled the tee time, and he's like, "Oh yeah, well these guys are going off," and they kept letting people go ahead of it. It was like they never really honored their tee time, but they were always asking them to make a tee time out there, and so they just said, "Forget it, we're not doing this anymore."
Yeah, I don't. I mean, that's not uncommon. I really don't blame them. I mean, we've been trying to, we love Klinger, we love the bones of the place, we love the course. I mean, the people are great too, but the functionality of it, the way it's run it's not run well. Let's just say that. This isn't a good sales pitch to get people to come to Klinger. But everyone I talk to now, I'm like, look, the club is going to improve the way it's run when they get the right GM in there. Right now, they don't have a GM. That's going to be huge. But now's a good time to join because it's cheap, and we do have people, younger people. I mean, we're still considered young out there. We have a good group of us out there who it feels like a little community. We're always wanting to play a game, and then we're out there eating, we're out there drinking. Like it's becoming like the vibe is cool when people are out there. But yeah, if you're dealing with that stuff, which is common, and you don't know that many people out there too.
Right.
I wouldn't join. There's no way I would join out there.
Right, and that was the thing for me. I was just like, dude, like, why are you guys making tee times? Just go there, show up, and like say, what hole can I start on? You know what I mean? It's just like,
that's what I do. And Pat he's like the best at what he does, Haggerty. So if he ever listens to this, even though I always talk good of him, but he's really good at it. But yeah, he won't care. I mean, if you go out there maybe on like a Saturday or a Sunday morning or something when it's super busy, like make it tee time. But I go out there and I'm like, look, there's someone out here, yeah, and he'll tell me someone's on 10, 11, 12, go off 18 or something like that. Like he'll work with it. But no, it's a hidden gem. It really is. It just once it starts. We need a GM. We need a good GM, and they're looking for a GM right now. They're working with PGA of America to find a good GM. But the issue here, finding somebody who's hungry, will maybe not take a ton of money and wants to relocate to Sturgis, Michigan.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge. I mean, I don't know who that is. So it's almost like they're going to have to find someone relatively local. And again, man, I'll get into this. I'm segueing here, but you're out. Are you in Miami basically? Are you in?
No, I'm in North.
You say people are competing and they're always out for themselves. Well, one thing I admire about that is you have a lot of talented people out there in these bigger cities who are hungry and from a business side, a creative side, very talented. In Sturgis, I don't see that. I don't see the hunger, and depending on, you definitely have talented people, hungry people, but the volume of it is like night and day. Mm-hmm. So it is difficult to get hungry, motivated people to want to turn something around or move here. And we had a guy from California moved to Sturgis. He was actually from Battle Creek originally. He was our DP, so he was head of lighting. So our bigger shoots, he would go and he'd light scenes and everything. His name was Corey. Really, really talented guy. Worked on the set of Big Brother, bunch of reality shows, and he had to come back to the Midwest for a few other reasons, family-related reasons, and he needed a job, and it was like a good marriage for us. But he was so ambitious and did like being bogged down, especially in the winters in a very small town. We could only keep him around for 2 years, and he bolted back to California. So that is an issue, getting hungry, talented people to want to stick around. So if you do come back, hopefully you stay. But
I think that's the key. Is that when people come back, I think it has to do with that family mindset, though. Like once you can start a family in Sturgis, you're not really leaving, because the family opportunity there is for I think your kids to have good friends. There's good churches there, a good school system where, I mean, me and you were fortunate. A lot of the people we went to school with are now teachers. And I mean, I know they're good people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, especially you, like, yeah, you've got a lot of family back here. So family is definitely a huge selling point for coming back. But also a lot of the people who come back, because there's been a handful of them that I know and I'm friends with. They like it. They like being back. It's not just they're not just saying like, well, family. There's there's stuff to do. But dude, summers out here, summers in Michigan, I just don't think you can beat. So, family or not, like summers out, even in St. Joe County, are fantastic. But yeah, I mean, DJ Merrill's, he's been back for a while. He's got a bunch of kids. There seems to be like someone new every year back in the area, and it's great because I feel like a lot of people our generation are still like motivated. They want to creative. They want to see cool things happen. We're getting a steakhouse downtown, which is a big deal. We'll see how that is. We are actually the first city to have lights on every downtown building. Second city in the United States to have this done. So literally every night, the entire all the downtown buildings are lit up. They have lights on the top of them. There's another, I think maybe it was Austin. They did this in Austin too. And it's themed. So like around Valentine's Day, they're all pink. Christmas, it's red and green. And so they're also creating a food truck alley too, which, I mean, food trucks, I feel like everyone's idea in small cities now is we got to get food trucks. Like, for so long now. Like,
yeah, that sounds like a good South Park episode.
Like that's that. So stuff like that does, like, it's great. Like, let's bring in a food truck. But I told the city manager this before he took another job a few years ago, because he'd come in and talk to us every once in a while, and the city doesn't love us at times. But I was like, hey, that what you're doing sounds like a great idea, but have you guys ever thought about trying to do something that other cities aren't doing? Like, have you ever tried being the first to do something? Because what the fuck do you have to lose? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you have to lose? Like when we're not Nashville. Nashville doesn't need to try something new. We're not Chicago. We're not Shipshewana. They don't need to try anything new. Like, why? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Mm-hmm. But like, what do you have to lose by investing in something that people aren't doing? And it's not like you just like you're throwing shit at the fan and trying things. It's like you listen to some ideas, and then you actually implement it, and you have confidence in doing it. And that's one thing I still don't see. I think by nature humans are copycats. Mm-hmm. So we copy someone, and we see an idea like a food truck, and 10 years later we finally have food trucks. Yeah, we got the food trucks. Dude, like how about Topgolf now? Like even that's cool. But you know what I mean? Like yeah. So that's one thing I would like to see more of. But my wife said you should start like being on boards and commissions. I'm like, no, I've been on a board before. Don't even get me started on being like on a committee. Those are just like having a meeting to have another meeting. Mm-hmm. Pitch it to the board so they can have a meeting, and then they'll come back and say we don't have enough money. A good idea. Like that's what it is. I was on the committee at Country Club, and good people, everyone on the committee, good people. But it's just like if I'm not in control, I don't want to be a part of it. Like I want to do it, and I want to do it differently. That's my mindset.
Yeah, and you bring up some really good points, especially when it comes to Sturgis, like looking at the opportunities for what there are inside of the community already set up. And like for me, I think about the Doyle Center. It's like, okay, so maybe you can't be like Nashville. You can't do this. What can you do with the things you already have? The Doyle Center. It's a huge building that you can really try to see if you can make this a training ground for professional athletes or kid athletes, or to be able to work something into childhood athletes, being able to build, develop strength and training, something with that. Like there's opportunities for that. Sturgis has been good at sports, for quite some time. Like, why not do something with that?
Well, I mean, again, it goes back to the motivation factor, and also the Doyle's city run. So again, you're going to get me going down the tangent of I don't think a lot of things will thrive if it's run by a city. I think it needs to be an entrepreneur. I think it needs to be someone who's invested in it financially. So I'm not saying there's not opportunity for there to be a sports development facility in this town. I think there is. It just has to be done properly. But I think the Doyle has opportunity to be creative, and they actually are doing a good job of getting different things in there for kids and youth. I've seen a good amount of growth in that and the creativity. Like, it's busy quite a bit. It's not just a center for playing volleyball, basketball, all that. They're bringing in a bunch of events that they do, which especially in the winter. So I applaud them on that. But again, you'll run into things like, I do know that they wanted to bring in this was probably 6 years ago. They wanted to bring in midget wrestling. They wanted to have a midget wrestling. Yeah, because there's tours and they have a board, and for political reasons, the board voted against it.
Oh wow!
And one of the main reasons was they found it offensive, and
what?
Which doesn't make any sense to me. Like something like that annoys the shit out of me. Like what? Like, so literally, these wrestlers, midget, little people, whatever you want to call them, that's just how they make a living.
Yeah.
But you find it offensive that people want to pay to watch them. Like, that's what they do. Like, why? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? And you might disagree with that, but I this is their life. This is their livelihood.
Yeah.
This isn't pornography. This isn't something that you shouldn't bring your kids. Well, I don't know if you should bring your kids to midget wrestling. I don't know. But I mean, it's not anything that's like a rated R event. This is something that these guys travel all around, and you're making the judgment that is inappropriate to bring them here. Not because you don't want people to watch it, but you think it's offensive because you're making fun of them while they're doing it, or like you're making fun of them that they're here doing it. It's entertainment. That's how they make a living, and that's how I look at a lot of things. Like, they're volunteering themselves. This is their livelihood, and if you want to get offended by it, you think we're offending them, then you're taking yourself too seriously.
It's
that's
like
an interesting point.
It's almost like people getting offended vicariously through other people. It's like you were saying with the person you kept calling Italian earlier. It's like people would get offended as somebody who's not even from Mexico or wherever he was from, and it's like, that's offensive to. Why is that offensive? If he's not finding it offensive, why would you be finding it offensive as just some random person who has no stake in this? Like, why? It's always people casting that on somebody else.
Yeah, it's well, I think a lot of it stems from insecurities. Like, I think people just are very insecure with themselves, and I'm not saying that. I think everyone's insecure to a point, don't get me wrong. I mean, except Donald Trump. I don't think Donald Trump's insecure. But it's also like people who compare Trump to Hitler. It's like, isn't that offensive to every Jewish person in the entire? I mean, we're talking about, like, you're comparing Trump to Hitler. Do you know what Hitler did to Jewish people? If I'm Jewish and people are saying Trump is Hitler, like, what? Like, fuck you. Like, what are you talking about? Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's offensive. Like, so again, you're right. Like, I don't know what it is. I think it's an insecurity thing, and a lot of people aren't happy. And when you're not happy, and I'm not happy all the time, like 100%, maybe 50% of the time. But when you're miserable, I guess you could say, everything bothers you, right? Everything bothers you. Everything annoys you. You're gonna complain. Life sucks. you shouldn't say that. That's mean. So I go on and on and on, but
But I think sometimes like insecurity and IQ are correlated, right? So it's like,
I mean, yeah, you went there, not me, but yeah, it's definitely and again, like I'm a guy who peaked in third grade, like IQ wise, though. That's me. But yeah, it's definitely like I'm not again like I'm not even gonna try to get mad at someone like that because I will never understand it, and then I will never win either. Like if I get mad at that and I even want to say something in a situation like that, they're never gonna let it go. Like if I were to ever be a Facebook troll with someone like that, they would kill me because they'd go on and on and on and on. Oh, you're not responding. Is that you like that's what I don't do it.
Yeah.
When I drink tequila on the weekends, every once in a while, I will like type in one word to someone who just annoys the piss out of me. But that's alcohol-induced annoyance. and I will type one thing in, and then I'll look at it in the morning. I'll be like, oh, I have a notification. That freaking guy responded to me.
see, and this is what was interesting at the starting of the podcast. You were talking about that you would say stuff and people would get offended, and you'd like you didn't really mean to call them stupid. But this is the thing that always stood out to me is like me and you would be, and I remember this specifically at Klinger Lake Golf Course when we were all playing golf. We were all on the golf team. And one of the best players on our team, Drew Hooley, he was hitting golf balls. And you guys figured out that if you said shank in his backswing, that it would piss him off and he would start messing up. And so like Brett could sit over there and kept saying it. And I was like, okay. And then I would say it. And then Drew would be like, Chet, I'm going to show you, throw your damn clubs over there in that damn pond. And I'm like, dude, like he just said it like 10 times and I say it once. And like, that's how it always was. Like Brett would say it. He would like go super deep on somebody and it'd be like, it wouldn't offend him. I was like, okay, so I guess I could try that. And then I'd say something and, and I'm like, holy crap, dude. Like,
yeah, I have another story I can piggyback on that goes farther back than that. But I do remember that. And again, actually saying shank in someone's backswing is a pretty dick move. So I probably should have done that. But I remember why I did it. It was because we're on the driving range, and this goes back to not taking things too seriously or thinking too much. But we're on the driving range, and they were talking about how Hooley had the shanks or whatever. Oh. And I honestly didn't know. I didn't know that. Again, I think we were sophomores, and I swear to God, I didn't know that like saying the word shank gets in people's heads. Like apparently, like that's what it does. You say shank, and it gets in your head. And so I'm talking to like, who was Charlie Metz maybe on the team? Like I was talking to Charlie or someone, and Hooley was on the range, and I was like, "What do you mean, like he had the shanks? Like he still has the shanks?" He goes, "Dude, Scheske, stop fucking saying the shank." I'm like, we're having a conversation. What are you talking about? And then Hooley looks over at me. He's like, "Dude, he's right. You don't say shank. You don't say it. You don't say that." I'm like, "You never say shank? Nope, never." And that's when I was like, okay, motherfuckers, lines up on shank. So that's what led up to it. They were taking this way too serious, and it annoyed the shit out of me. So that's when I was like, all right, let's do it. Go ahead, hit a ball, shank. And then Chad piggybacks on it and says it one too many times, and they get mad at him. But also, this happened at Trinity when Zach, 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 and this was actually, if I saw Zach today, I'd apologize because I literally made fun of him for no reason. But anyway, backstory is he was drinking out of, I forget what he was at the drinking fountain. No, I'm sorry. So every time Zach would get in trouble or didn't know what to say, God. Oh man, I hope Zach doesn't watch this. But Zach, I apologize for making fun of you back then for this because this was a dick move of me. But we were in fourth grade, we all said stupid shit. So every time like he didn't know what to say, he'd go, "What? What?" Like he'd freeze and he'd go, "What?" And so one day Zach we all kind of picked up on this and we're like, this is kind of funny. And sure enough, like the next day after we were talking about this, he gets in trouble by Mrs. Holberg, and he's in the middle of class, And he goes, what? After he got in trouble, we all just lose it. Just fucking lose it. And we're the rest of the day, people are doing it. And we go on a field trip the next day, and people were like going up to Zach, like, what's wrong, Zach? Why? We're trying to escalate a little bit. Anyway, there was a vending machine at Trinity in the basement, and we were on a break, and I was down there with Caleb, and I said it once or twice, and then I could tell Zach was getting really pissed, like really mad. And Caleb picked up on it too, but I knew like to tap the brakes. And Caleb could tell he's getting pissed, and he goes, Zach, what's wrong? Zach turns and just clocks him. Just punched him right in the face, knocked him over the couch. And I was the one that instigated this entire thing. It was all my fault. And we go back upstairs, and Mrs. Culver's like, what happened to Zach? Zach was either bleeding or had a black eye. I mean, he fucking punched him in the face hard. And I actually before he punched Caleb, I told Caleb to stop. I did tell him that. I said, Caleb, just chill. He goes, what? And that's when he punched him. We go upstairs, and Mrs. Colberg's obviously furious, and she goes, and she knew it. She's like, Brett, this is all your fault. Like, you're getting detention. And Zach goes, no. It was Caleb. Brett tried to stop you. I didn't get in trouble. Wow. And he's right. This was all my fault. So yeah, that's kind of like the Mets story, or the Hooley story. But I feel like that was more justified because they were being idiots. Like, you mean I can never say shank? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Now this was
yeah.
Zach's story was a little more instigated by me, but Caleb got punched and had detention. So again, I creatively worked my way out of that one.
I mean, do you have any other stories from Trinity that you remember that were like that? Like, the one that always comes back to my mind is one of our pastor's sons. I don't know if you knew about this story, Jake, where we're all out at recess and there's a fire that goes off. And so the kid, he had matches or something, and he started the ball closet on fire.
What?
The fire department came. It was a big deal.
I was at Eastwood that year.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went to Eastwood for a year because I wanted to try something new. And my parents let me, which, they let me realize like I liked Trinity more. Like they didn't really resist, which was interesting. But because I know like now if my kid wanted to go somewhere else other than Trinity, I probably wouldn't let him unless he had a really good reason. My reason was just I've got other friends at Eastwood that I know. But yeah, that was the year I missed, and I heard about it. I heard it was James. His name was James, I believe, right? James?
Nick.
Maybe. Nick. It was Nick, yeah. Nick James. Yeah, he set the ballroom on fire. But any crazy stories? I remember my last day of 8th grade, my last day there. We were supposed to have a water balloon fight. That was like the thing we all looked forward to at the end of the year. And the girls, we had 3 girls in our class. And during the day, we had shifts where we could go fill up our own water balloon arsenal. And literally, this is every senior class or senior 8th grade class got to do this. And it's what you look forward to all year. And the girls were taking forever to fill up their water balloons, like forever. And we always said they had preferential treatment because there were only 3 of them. And Mrs. Kohlberg was sexist, we always used to say, and all this stuff, which might have been true, might not have been. She just didn't like me. I knew that. She loved you, though. She loved you. Loved you. Anyway.
Me?
Oh, yeah, she loved you. She did not like me. Caleb and Seth probably didn't like us that much either. But she liked you and Dustin a lot. But anyway, they were taking forever. And finally, I said, screw this. I want to fill my water balloons. So I just left. I left the class. And I went and I started filling up water balloons. And then I think I went into the gym and I threw one at Nina. And then I went and hid in the boiler room. And I remember hiding in the boiler room for an hour. And I hear these footsteps walk in very slowly. And literally Mrs. Kohlberg walks right by me, doesn't see me, looks to her left, looks to her right, walks out, doesn't see me. I walk in a half hour later to the classroom. It was actually, I think, me and Seth or someone else. walked in like nothing had happened. And she goes, "Oh, you can have a seat. I canceled the water balloon fight." And I'm back. I'm like, "Why'd you do that?" She goes, "Because you're an idiot. It's your fault." And so she canceled it, and everyone was pissed at me. And long story short, I apologized and I said, "Look, just how about it was me and Caleb, I think. I was like, we'll just sit out the water balloon fight, and you guys can still have it." And that's what ended up happening. But it was a pretty big ordeal. And in hindsight, the girls were taking forever, but probably should have class and done that. But I did some stupid stuff, man. I mean, I did. I got pretty lazy with things and did some stupid stuff that I'm not proud of, but I used the excuse I was young, and I don't know. That's the only excuse I have.
Yeah, and I mean, so going back even to our childhood, whether it's Trinity or not, we had an all-star team that was probably one of the best baseball all-star teams in Sturgis that went undefeated, that never lost a game. So, Jake, I don't really think you realize how many of the greatest athletes of all time lived before your time in Sturgis, Michigan, and were part of like that all-star team.
Yeah, Jake, you missed out on some. I mean, we always wanted to be Little League affiliated, but we weren't. So that was like, I mean, our all-star teams just hit the crap out of the ball. We played awesome defense. Our pitching was never that great. Like, it just wasn't. I remember, I think Jernigan was one of our pitchers, and he threw just meatballs. Like, he was one of our, but guys would put it in play, and we'd play good defense. But I remember, like, even the guys before us who, a lot of them were on the 99 state team, like, they were awesome. But this was back in the time where we woke up every summer morning. We wanted to go to the baseball field. We'd ride our bikes there. I mean, it was like the Sandlot. We'd play baseball all day, get popsicles in the afternoon, and, I mean, play video games every once in a while. But I think kids in their defense have a lot more temptations now. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, people have access to a lot of things via their phone, and times are different. They are. My kids don't know if he's going to be in sports or not. I really don't care, but I do know I don't want to sucked into social media. So that's going to be a challenge for sure.
And I know one of the things you said that would be important to talk about on the podcast was Trinity and the faith it instilled into you. Like, what do you remember from that? What would you say created that desire in you, or really helped to fulfill that purpose that it currently plays that role in your life?
Well, I think I knew from a young age that faith was important. Whether or not I always abided by that faith is a completely different subject, because obviously I have not. But, academically, I would say I was a little behind maybe when I got out of, like, Allison Colbert is one of the smartest girls in our class, and then she was incredibly smart in the when she got in high school. I think Nina also was good in math, and Janique was probably. I'm sure the girls thrived right away. The guys, I don't know, not so much. That's our fault. So the education was fine, but them instilling God and Christ in me is priceless. Like, that's my foundation in life is my faith. And I mean, without that, my life would be totally different in a lot of different ways. But anyone who's asking about, if they should send their kid to Trinity, from an educational standpoint, I don't know. I think right now they have nothing. Actually, a lot of the kids that come out of Trinity the last 5-10 years have graded higher than most of the kids at the high school starting out as freshmen. I don't know if it's always been like that or not, but I say, well, my biggest motivation to send my kids there is God. Like, they're teaching you about Jesus. Like, that's why I want my kid there. I don't care. The education's important, but not nearly as important as learning about Christ. So that's been huge. And then, I see, without that backbone, without that framework, my life would be totally different. Like, 100% totally different. Like, the things I've wanted, there's a lot of things I haven't gotten. I can even go back to, like, the girl I wanted to marry in college. Like, we had a bad breakup, and I thought, like, I was crushed. And my life would be totally different now if that would have succeeded. Like if I would have been in like guarantee I would not have my own company. Guarantee it. Guarantee I would not be in this field. I wouldn't be making videos. I wouldn't have the family I have now. I mean, it just like snowballs into like just that simple thing that I wanted so bad that didn't happen was totally like God centered. Like that God created that element of my life, and it snowballed into the life I have now. And there's other times that's happened, like the things that I haven't gotten turned out to be good for me. Like and so I want my kids to have that faith. I want them to have that as a backbone, because I feel like if you don't have that, you're going to be searching for something all the time. And it's not that I'm not searching still, because I always am, but that's always there. That's always stuck with me, and that's the main reason why I'm happy I went to Trinity. But I'm also, my parents were the type where like, you can explore something else. So again, with parenting, and I'm learning this now, it's like, how much do you let your kids explore? It's just something I'm gonna have to learn myself. But everything that I do with my kids, I try doing with my parents and with me, to a point. But it's just kind of being a dad's a different. Still don't feel like I'm mature enough to be a dad, to be honest. Like I just don't. But faith is a big part of my life, and I don't think people realize that, which is something that does bother me, because it's all like I wish I was more. It was more evident, and that's just something that I think will come with time, hopefully. But I think it's a confident thing. It's like a confidence thing of being really secure and letting. Not again, we were talking about offending people. Like that is one thing I struggle with. Like I have friends who I know don't believe in God. I have friends who I'm very close with who don't believe in God, and it's like how do you witness to them, or how do you show them that life would be a lot better if you did? And that's a struggle for me, big time, because you don't want to offend them, and you don't want that relationship to be severed at all. And things will be different if you bring stuff like that up. So that's something that I struggle with daily, and something that I still haven't matured in. So, yeah.
So, as I think about God moments, I don't know if you remember this, but we used to go to Mount Pleasant to gamble. And like there were times where we would go there twice in a week. And so Mount Pleasant's like 4 hours away, Jake. So we would drive all the way up there, all the way back. And then in the same week, drive all the way up there, all the way back. And there was this one time where I remember which I don't know if we should really be sharing this story, because I'm sure it won't our parents have ever heard about this, but you're driving your parents' van, and they didn't really want us to be going, if I remember right, because it was snowing pretty hard. And dude, like there was a semi right next to us, and we hit a patch of ice. Like, do you remember what happened there?
Yeah, I remember you freaking out, and we slid, and we both thought we were gonna just die and get hit by a semi, and somehow we didn't, and I don't know how. So, I mean, yeah, because it literally felt like we were on ice skates, and we were going right into a semi, and we survived it somehow. And I think you were more scared than me. I don't know why. I was probably half asleep, like because those were late nights. But yeah, I mean that's something that I still think about, because it was it was bad out. It was really bad. And my parents, I think it was their Astro van. Are you sure it wasn't? Are you sure we went back from Detroit? I swear we went to Detroit once.
Well, I guess it could have been Windsor.
Or maybe it was Windsor.
But
yeah, I don't know.
I was pretty sure it was Mount Pleasant, because we were going up 131, or the one out of Coldwater, 69.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
And I think we were actually on our way there. Like we were just like, oh, keep going. Like, I don't think we're even coming back, dude.
I was gonna say it would have saved us money maybe if we got in somewhat of an accident, because we probably lost money at the casino. But no, I think wrecking our car would have been worse. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Go to casinos, by the way. You still gamble?
I mean, nobody. I guess there's finally a casino down here that has craps. They just opened it up, but it's busy, so I don't. I haven't gambled a long time.
Well, like DFS, DraftKings, anything like that?
No, we're actually going to have somebody on the podcast who he does studied statistics in school. He worked in sports, and he has a YouTube channel where he actually gives betting picks. And so I'm going to rattle his brain on what that looks like. I'm sure actually that's something in your expertise too. But no, I've never really got into sports betting or anything like that.
I know about expertise. I bet all the time, but I'm not good at it. But I go to Vegas twice a year, and there's a competition I get into that you have to be out in Vegas to actually enter. Like it costs like $1,000, and you have to bet on 5 NFL games every week. And not bet on them, but like $1,000 goes towards that. You pick 5 NFL games every week, and so yeah, I'm a degenerate pretty much. It's something just not very good at. It's just like on the weekends, it's just fun to have money on something, and that saying that means you have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't enjoy watching sports, man. Like it's just changed so much than I guess since we were kids, like especially basketball, have no real interest. Actually, this year is the first year that I got into watching a little bit more baseball with Shohei and Judge kind of doing pretty well this year. I started watching that, but football I've never really had that big of an interest in. So I just
Definitely makes it more interesting when you have some cabbage on the line. So
which is interesting. So I had this idea, like, wouldn't it be from a perspective, if you're a fanatic of a team, right? So if you're a Lions fan, wouldn't it make the most sense just to always bet against the Lions? So that way, if they lose, you're winning money. And if they win, they've won. And if you lose money, oh, well.
I mean, depends how much I want to spend on buying the Lions, I guess. Like, what are you talking about? Like, would I pay $10,000 for the Lions to win a Super Bowl? Probably not. I mean, I'd maybe pay $5,000. So there, yeah, I do what? So how much is that? There's 18 weeks. So $300 a game. Man, that sounds like a lot. No, I don't agree with that. No,
okay, because I was saying if I wanted to actually enjoy every game, like who's a team that's been absolutely terrible? I guess maybe the Cowboys. Like if you're a Cowboys fan, it's like, dude, just bet against the Cowboys. If they win, okay, they won the game. If they lose, you win money. Like so, you win both times. Either way.
Well, that's like even Steven. Like, how is that fun? Like you're never gonna be that excited.
I don't know. I would rather that than sit and watch a game and have them lose and be like, dude, I just blew 4 hours. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it sucks when you watch a game, especially with a team you're not affiliated with, and you lose like $400. I mean, but especially if it's like you get screwed too, like you're winning the whole time. I'm not endorsing what I have detrimental to my bank account and probably my anxiety. But there's something about when money's on the line, things are way more interesting.
Yeah, see, for me, I much more prefer like betting on like myself, like playing golf. Like, yeah, if I could golf every weekend and play for money, gamble, yeah, that I would definitely want to do that.
You can do that.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, I just don't. I don't like betting on other teams or sports. It's just I don't know. I guess something.
It's one of those things where it's easy to access, and which is not good. And I really should just look into like becoming a bookie somehow.
Yeah.
Here's a good story. So me and Clancy, and another buddy of mine.
Here, cut it. Stop it for just a second. I can go to the bathroom real quick.
You stopped working at Kendrick's and you told me you retired.
I told you I retired?
Yeah. You told a bunch of us, like, you're like, I'm retiring. I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, I know you worked like a bunch of jobs, but like, you're retiring. You don't remember that? You
don't think I meant just from Kendrick's?
No, I'm pretty sure you didn't. I'm pretty sure in general, you're either that or you're just bullshitting with me.
Oh yeah, it must have been.
Yeah. I was just telling your brother about that. Anyway.
All right, so open it up so we can hear this story.
Good story. I'll throw out numbers because people aren't transparent about their gambling numbers, or gambling addiction, like this. So this year, me and my buddy, I already said his name. Give a shit anyway. We have a joint betting account or whatever, and we have bet. I think we're down about $3,000 to $4,000, so $2,000 a piece for the year. I don't want to say the year, starting in the NFL season. So whatever. And but consensusly, we've had over $400,000 in bets. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
So we've had $400,000 in bets, and we're down about $2,000. So that's a lot of money we've bet. But the story is we pretty much lose every year. We do lose every year. We never win. Okay, we never win. We've been on where we're up money, and they're fucking awesome, but we never overall win. And except one year. So Chris owns a couple of restaurants on the east side of the state, and one of his locals was, or one of his regulars was a tired veteran. I think he's probably 62 years old, and his wife had passed away a few years before he met Chris, and they were talking, and he's like, yeah, I bet, but I don't know technology, so I don't really bet online. Do you know where you can bet at? And Chris was like, well, yeah, I mean, go to the sports books online. He's like, I don't want to deal with all that. And Chris was like, well, just give me money and I'll bet for you or whatever. How many bets? I'll bet you. So you can tell me if this is morally wrong or not. So Chris would just play the bookie. Instead of the guy would be like, okay, I want the Braves they're going to win by 1. Here's $300. Chris wouldn't give it to the bookie. If the guy lost, Chris would keep the money. If the guy won, Chris would be like, okay, here's your money. So essentially, Chris was the bookie. Yeah. Chris didn't want to waste his time actually asking money and doing all that. So I was like, well, how much is he betting a week? He's betting $300 a game. I was like, well, do you want me to back you? If you get your ass kicked, we'll go on this together. I can back you if you want. He's like, well, yeah, I mean, if you want to go in on it with me, sure. And so we did. And after 1 year, Chris and I went to Vegas with $15,000 in cash that the guy had lost to us. So we won because we were the bookie. Wow. And ran it back the next year. And we nicknamed the guy's a super nice guy. We nicknamed him Donkey. All bad bettors is nicknamed Donkey, or they're called donkeys. And so Donkey had a friend. We nicknamed him Dingle. So we had Donkey and Dingle. And Dingle loved to bet hockey games, but he liked to bet a lot more money. So we said, okay. And Chris flat out told him, I'm the bookie, basically. You can just bet with, bet with us. So Dingle started betting with us. And that year, consensusly between the two, we brought home $10,000. So we have won, but only as the bookie. And we haven't won. This is where it gets a little morbid and sad. Donkey ended up getting cancer and literally was betting from his hospital bed till the day he died. Wow. And he died owing Chris $500. I told Chris, I was like, are you going to go to the funeral and collect from his family, or what are you going to do? I was obviously joking. But so we did well those 2 years, but the dude still owes us $500 that we're never going to see. So I'm kind of pissed about that.
Was he your only in with Dingle, or do you still have connections with Dingle?
Dingle he went to jail. Oh, he was out.
Yeah, nice.
This is all 100% true. I'm not embellishing any part of this. It's a great story. It really is. I really should write a little.
Did he go to jail owing you guys money, or?
Oh, Dingle went to jail, didn't owe us anything.
Okay.
And then Donkey ended up getting cancer, and he fought it for a while. And Chris isn't like texting him saying like, "Who do you want to bet?" He's texting Chris saying, "Give me the Lions, give me." Like he had a full slate of bets. He's like just doing it, and then passed away, and we haven't won money since. So sad for everybody, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, speechless, aren't you, Jabs?
What?
You're speechless, aren't you? That's yeah. My gambling woes aren't great. My wife knows about them, but
So I mean, I guess that's why it's illegal to be a bookie, right? Like, I mean,
oh yeah, that's why you be a bookie.
lose.
And again, if I was, I've never lost more than $2,000 a year. But yeah, if I could legally be a bookie, that's how you win money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why they win money. They adjust lines, and there's a whole mathematical system to it. Well, what we were doing, these guys were doing terrible.
Yeah.
What?
But with what we do, we weren't like official bookies where we were adjusting odds. They were just going on to DraftKings because we sent them to the site, said, "What games do you like?" And they were just terrible. They weren't good at it.
So you were just giving them the DraftKings odds.
Yeah, 100%. We were making. Yeah, that's the thing. We were making up anything like shady like that, like saying, "Oh yeah," like no, just like who do you want? And Chris would write it down, and then every week Chris would either go give him money or he'd drop it off in a bag at a restaurant. So some underground sneaky shit going on. So, but now we live in a time where gambling is like it's such a gray area. Like DraftKings, I know legally they can do it, but there's a bunch of sites out there now. And my uncle's a lawyer, and I asked him about it. He's like, it's the Wild West. Like, hey, you don't know. Like, you don't know who's legit, who's not, but no one's policing it really. Not, and I don't really think it should be policed. Again, we could go into that whole thing too. Like, I don't think it's the government's right to step in and say who can do this and who can't do that. I'm a less government type of guy if you figure that out. So
it sounds like it's pretty similar to like crypto, where they're just not governing it, or there's not as much, not as many laws against it.
No, there's not a ton. I mean, I couldn't legally be a bookie in Sturgis at an establishment. There's no way I could do that. But online, like if you wanted to develop your own bookie app, I'm not sure how hard it would be. I don't think it'd be that difficult. But you'd have to have a lot of money. You'd have to have a lot of backers though, like financially. Otherwise, you could probably get into a lot of trouble. So it's something I would never do. But like, if I could find a couple of Donkey and Dingles around here, I'd do that.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I've got pictures of Chris and I showing up to Vegas. We're trying to get on a plane, and Chris has this old Harry Potter satchel from like 1962 that he brought with him that he pulled out of his parents' closet, and he has just stacks of hundreds in it. And we get to security. We're like almost getting onto the plane. We were through security. We're almost getting onto the plane. And the lady goes, "Sir, you can't bring that bag on here until I check it." And he goes, "You're not touching this bag." And she goes, "Sir, I need to get in it." He goes, "You're not fucking touching it." And he walked. She didn't say anything. She just let him go. So yeah, no, we've got some pretty good stories. That's the thing. It's like the stories I have from Chris and these gambling, it's like kind of like The Hangover. It's like I don't think I'd trade those for anything. Like, and if I had lost $100,000, yeah, I'd trade a couple of Clancy stories.
Yeah.
But we've had some crazy trips, and we're going to New Orleans the first weekend of March Madness. So hopefully that one's
okay for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, well, we're gonna watch. We'll have money on every single game.
Oh, okay.
This has literally turned into a podcast about my degeneracy. everyone who
I
listens.
mean, Chris always seems to have some pretty good stories. I mean, one of my favorite stories tied with Chris is we were golfing, and what was it, number 12 at Cedar Lake? He missed a putt, and he ends up rifling his putter up in the tree. And then there's just some guy that's playing behind us. We're like throwing clubs up. He's like, "What are you guys doing?" It's like, "There's a we have a putter." He's like, "Oh, I'll get it." And you remember he just like gets in his cargo shorts and climbs up the tree all the way up to the top, grabs it, drops it down. He's like, "Oh, there you go." And he comes down and he's like all scraped up and everything.
Yeah, he was like bleeding. He had cuts all over his arms. And we're like, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Putter was a shitty putter too. It wasn't
Yeah, like one that came like in a Walmart set or something like that had been used for 10 years with dings and everything.
It wasn't worth it, but I mean, that guy probably got laid that night because he told his wife what he just did.
100%.
Yeah, actually, right now my business partner is texting me about filling out a DraftKings lineup for tomorrow. So, yeah, I've got a bit of an issue. I feel like I'm responsible about it, but he's analyzing if the weather is going to be good or not in the morning, so we know what golfers to play. This is golf, by the way. So, and I think it's in Florida. Yeah, it's in Florida. So I'm going to check the weather to see what it's like, to see if there's a lot of wind. That's how we determine who we're going to play tomorrow.
Lower ball flights?
Well, today we played a lot of Euro guys because of the wind, and they play in a lot of wind.
Okay.
We missed cashing by like 1 point, so we lost money. Anyway.
So even though you have been the bookie, that still you still have a passion to be able to bet, even though you know that the casino wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an intelligent financial decision at all. It's like I said, it's something about the rush of it. I sound like a drug addict, but do I sound like a drug addict? No. No, it's something about like the camaraderie of being with buddies, having something on the line, cheering, and then when you do win, it's an awesome feeling. And I guess maybe it replaces our days in sports when you're on a team and you win something, and it's like I would rather be betting and winning or just having a good time betting with my buddies than winning a rec league basketball tournament, I guess. You know what I mean? That being said, I love to golf, though. That's the only thing I'm really like competitive in. I would rather win a golf tournament probably than, win something in Vegas, unless it was like 50 grand. But
so you guys usually make an event out of this where you all get together to watch the golf tournament or the game. It's not just you kind of sitting watching your phone to see who won or just seeing the results at the end of the day.
I mean, we go out to Vegas once a year, and it's usually me and my buddy, Chris, and a friend of ours from college. But no, this whole thing with golf and betting, that's why Sam and I, my business partner, started the Juice Golf Tournament, which is all about golfing, all about betting on yourself and other teams, and there's quite a bit of drinking involved in it as well. But I'm just not a huge fan of charity golf tournaments and how they're run. I'm not anti-charity. I'm anti-charity golf tournament. And some charity golf tournaments are so bad, it makes me never want to donate to charity again. So we started the Juice, and that was part of our marketing was charity golf tournament. This is a tournament run the way we want to run, and we're going to treat everyone in it like every golfer wants to be treated in a golf tournament, like a fun golf tournament. So we have a juice bar on the back nine. That's all complimentary. We bring in the food. That's all really good food. That's all part of their entry fee. We get these custom hats, we have a DJ on hole 3 who just blasts music the entire time. So it's a golf tournament, the Barstool thing for the boys, if you will. But it's inspired by everything that I could not stand about playing in charity events. And
do you have bigger goals for that? Are you trying to expand it, or are you just really trying to keep it local and that's what you're enjoying doing right now?
Well, there's 2 this year. One's at Island Hills, one at Klinger. And we'd like there to We'd like there to be 3 next year. We'd like it to be across the Midwest. But the issue is finding the right courses. Golf's popular now, and there's not a lot of courses who have a Friday, Saturday you can book out.
Right.
And then the price has to be right too. Like it's got to be a decent price, and we don't necessarily want to play at any course, but like I said, the price has to be. We have to be able to like make some money off it somehow. I mean, we say this is a for-profit tournament too, so we're totally transparent about everything. We don't pretend that we're giving some money to charity, because we're not. And again, we're not anti-charity, but this golf tournament is not about charity at all.
Right.
And I guess when you're trying to be profitable, but you also want to keep it fair, has that been difficult with people handicaps and trying to make it to where it's like equal playing field, especially coming from the betting standpoint? Like, how do you try to deal with all of that and calculate everything?
So what we've been told is a lot of people is they play in this. They want to win, obviously, but they play in it just because it is an absolute blast. So they know they're going to have fun regardless. Guys are usually pretty good at it, at their handicaps. I mean, you have to have your gin. You have to, and you have to be within 8 shots of your partner. People are usually pretty good about that. You're going to have 1 or 2 people who I can name will get pissed off if a 10 handicap shoots a 72. But the thing I tell people all the time is like, I'm a 5, and I'm a reverse sandbagger. Like, I'm not going to shoot a 72 that often. But when I was a 10, I could probably shoot 73, 74 and around. Like, that's going to happen, and it's going to happen in a tournament. You can't get mad at someone for playing in a tournament like this and shooting below their handicap one time. It's such a small sample size. You look at guys on the PGA Tour, they'll go 10 under one round, then shoot 1 over the next day. So people, again, this goes back to taking things too seriously. With a sample size like that, you just can't get pissed off. And if someone were to get pissed off about that, I'd put them in their place for sure. I'd be at Klinger, we do know the notorious sandbagger, but they're playing in events all the time. And there's a few sandbaggers in our tournament, and if I think they're not, their gin is not right, I will say something. I'll be like, we're putting you in the 3rd flight just because I played it 50 times and I know you're going to be pissed. So no, we've got it pretty figured out. We had an issue last year, but that's because there was a scoring error between a couple. A team had a 4, they wrote them down for a 5, and then messed up a flight, and we actually we almost turned it into marketing content. It was good drama. That's another thing. Marketing companies, so stuff like that, we look for some drama to market ourselves with. But guys are cool about it. Guys had a blast. So.
Because I know back, like in my dad, when he was playing golf before he got sick in the 90s, like he would go to a place in Syracuse, Indiana, and they would have this tournament where they would draw teams, and they would have like a Calcutta where people were betting on teams, and we're talking like you could win like $10,000. Like,
yeah, they do that. They do that. Not at Klinger, but they do that at Island Hill still. I mean,
okay.
a lot of golf clubs, they do a lot of stuff like that, which makes it more fun. And again, like, is that stuff legal? I don't know, but
Yeah.
if someone wants to rat you out on it and shut you down, then more power to them. And to be the person to come out and shut you down for that, you got to be on some type of a power trip. Yeah. Like, no one's doing anything wrong or harming anybody, and it's just like you have bigger fish to fry.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, get a life. Life.
Yeah, because most of the time that something like that's going to happen, where there's going to be an issue, is somebody tattletale. They're upset because their handicap. They thought somebody had a worse handicap, or they lost money. Like, those are the people that are turning people in, right? It's like, I just lost $5,000. Like, these people are over here having this golf tournament where they're betting. I was like, well, were you part of it? Well, I was, but I lost. Like, I didn't win anything.
Yeah, that's the only way it could happen. I feel like some guy gets really pissed off, and he's like, I got screwed with the juice, and I'm going to go say, I'm going to rat them out for taking bets. It's like, okay, then you got some issues, man. But I hope it doesn't happen to us, but maybe it could. I mean, we might partner with a charity, and the charity might take bets in the future. Like if we were to franchise this and make it bigger, I think something like that, just to make sure our ducks are in a row. Because when you get bigger, we'll come after you. But we're in St. Joe County and we do 2 tournaments. I don't see many people getting mad because we're doing some funsy bets. And again, all proceeds go to making Klinger Lake better. That's what I tell people all the time. So
there you go. All right, and then I guess, man, I appreciate you I appreciate you being part of the podcast and sharing. Did you have a story that you could share where you remember of our dad?
I mean, more than anything, I just remember your dad's your dad's personality, man. Like he was from what I knew of him, and not taking it too serious, say it like it is.
Yeah.
Someone's acting like an idiot type of guy. Like that's just how he was. Like, and I remember being on first base, and he totally was right about this. I was on no, I think I got Zach Norris was on first base. We played for Sturgis Bank Little League, and I hit a ball in the gap to left center, and somehow Zach only got to second base. Like I don't know how that happened because it went to the fence, and I'm screaming at Zach, like what are you doing? Like go to third because I wanted a double. And your dad looks at me, and he's like, he didn't pick up the ball. I was like, he should be on third base. He goes, did you want a double? Is that what you wanted? Come on, right down for a double. Give him a double. Is that what you wanted? Totally humbled me. I wanted. I should be on second base. Yeah, I mean, that's one story that I'll never forget just because he totally humbled me at that moment. Get to bitch about it. And then I just remember showing up to like baseball games. I didn't play baseball. I played my freshman year, but showing up to games, and he would have always, something smart or witty to say to me right away. Like it was just like, just your dad. Remember going to your house when I was younger, and this isn't about your dad, but just being scared shitless of your dogs you had at your house that you told me we couldn't go near, and I don't want to go near. Thought they were going to kill me. I don't know if that was true, but what were they, Rottweilers or something?
No, it was a German Shepherd.
Oh, was it?
It was
Yeah.
just one.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I thought it was two, but
yeah.
I know. What else? I remember your dad driving us everywhere. I remember. I just remember his witty, no nonsense type personality. Like, and I don't think I ever got to know him that well behind the scenes. So I don't know. But every time I saw him, it was something smart coming out of his mouth.
I remember when we would come over and like play poker at my house and stuff. Like you guys would always hear him like sleeping because he used to smoke, right? He was a chain smoker, and just dude, like it was just. And
you ever stop smoking?
What?
Did he ever stop smoking?
No. Well, he went from cigarettes to e-cigarettes.
Yeah, he was like, kind of like a legend in a way. Like the dude just was himself and didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And when you were doing something stupid, he would say, "What are you doing? You wanted a double?
Yeah.
Give him a double." Like, and I always appreciated him because of that. Like I could relate to the no nonsense bullshit. I don't know if a lot of people can't. I feel like a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people get offended by some of the stuff your dad would say, and same with me. Like people get offended by the shit I say, but I think you just have to not take life too seriously. And I don't think your dad did. Like he was just Monte and confident to be himself and not give a shit. So
No, yeah, and I see that in my brothers. Like my brothers and sisters working in the trailer factory, and I'll be like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Yeah, Brittany made one of her bosses cry." I was like, "She did what?" And like it's like my sister who works in the trailer factory made one of her bosses cry. It's like, Brittany, what are you doing? She's like, "Well, like they were being an idiot," and so I just told them how it was. I'm like, "Oh, dude," it's like, but that's exactly like my dad. Like he could never have worked other than the A&K, or he couldn't have worked for somebody because he would have pissed somebody off. He would have told his managers, his boss, he would have told him off, and he would have been fired. Like it was just like,
Yeah. Yeah. See, it's tact. Being tactful, I've never been good at, and it's hard. It's just hard for me to be tactful. My sister's similar too. Like she's very witty and feisty. Bad. She tells it like it is. And when something annoys her, not get bad, she tells it like it is, and doesn't have that tact. And my mom's good at it. My mom, when she gracefully tells someone they're being stupid, I don't have that skill set. So
see, and I feel like when you do that, like it doesn't just like the sword just doesn't go in deep enough. Like they don't actually get to fully feel it when you're not tactful about it. Where it's just you're blunt, and it's like ouch, like oh that like I felt that. Where if you're just tactful about it, it's like oh okay, like he didn't really mean it. Like okay, it was
yeah,
okay.
it's definitely more memorable that way. I mean, ask probably half the kids that went to Trinity with us. I wasn't the most tactful human being. So maybe bring them on, and I could sit here and listen to what they thought of some of the things that I said to them when I was younger.
Yeah.
I mean,
Again,
do you really think we were bullies?
I don't know. Bully's not a word. I think we're instigators. Okay, I think we instigated things, but I also think we called things the way they were. And I'll tell you an example of like I feel like we were right about a lot of things. A lot on like out because I used to say they would cheat when they would grade their own papers in the library, and I I think I told you or someone was like they're cheating when they do this. I know I saw some of the papers that they had turned in, and I caught them cheating. I went into the library, literally caught them cheating. They got fear. You know when you catch someone cheating and you call them out,
Yeah.
they immediately get defensive.
Mhm.
And I had proof that they cheated. And I showed it to Mrs. Colbert, and she wouldn't back me on it and she actually sent me to detention for the whole thing. So I feel like I was right in the things I was calling it. Sometimes, half the time, maybe when I was calling it, and maybe justified, but I didn't do it in the right way. But the right way wouldn't have been nearly as entertaining. So
Where did you get your sense of humor from? Like,
I don't know. I mean, you ask my wife, she'll say I'm not funny, but I'm more annoying than funny. But I don't. My grandpa Scheske is pretty funny. I don't know. My parents asked me the same thing, like, because when I go to like family get-togethers, they always say like these get-togethers would be like pretty boring if I wasn't always talking and doing stupid stuff.
Mm-mm.
So it's not like anyone else in my family is really like that outgoing either. Like witty, outgoing. Like I don't know. I'm the black sheep. Like I said, I'm just a videographer.
were there TV shows as a kid? Was there anything that you grew up in front of to where the creativity in your mind in terms of how twisting words and creating humor come to mind?
I mean, no. I watched Seinfeld a lot, but that's like a different dry type of humor. It wasn't anything. I don't know. I do think like when I was a kid, I don't know. I found sarcasm in a lot of things. I've never really explored where it came from because, again, my creative side definitely came from my mom. Being athletic came from my dad. The mild, funny side that I have to some people, or maybe it's disruptive to others. I don't know where that came from. I'll think about it, but I can't put it. My Uncle Eric's pretty funny guy. He's vulgar and funny. Maybe it's my dad's side of the family, but I don't know. There's nothing that like inspired me to try being funny. I don't know. Again, it always goes back to like don't take things too serious. Find some humor in things, and people want to get mad at you for it. Well, they'll get over it at some point. I hope.
Hopefully, yeah.
I
Or
do have
they'll
a
create a Billy Madison list.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I never took it too far, and I was never like. So I actually have a really good story, but I don't think I should say it. I'm not going to say it. I'll tell it off camera, but it has to do with a Lake Erie basketball game and a referee and what a student said to the referee when he made a bad. And it had to do with yelling at him to go back to another country.
Oh, wow.
Good at that. So never did I toe those lines at all. And he was actually suspended for 3 days, I want to say, or something like that. But so no, I would never go that route at all. But in this day and age, calling a Hispanic intern Italian could turn heads for some people, but no, a lot of people who saw that behind the scenes episode thought, you should go check them out. They're pretty funny. They're like 3 years old. It's go to our Vimeo and look at hype behind the scenes. They're
Sweet.
fun. So.
All right. Well, Brett, man, we appreciate you sharing your story, coming on the podcast, sharing, just all your creativity. I think just giving us a better perspective of Sturgis, small town community, what can come out of there, and it's just who you are as an individual. I've always appreciated that and being around you and the energy you bring, man. Thanks for being a part of this.
Yeah, it was fun. I haven't done a podcast before. It's kind of fun to kind of therapeutic in a way, just to talk. And we haven't talked. I mean, we talk a little bit during the year, but talk to you and catch up. And I'm out in Florida. I'll come see you. And next time you're back in Sturgis, we should golf for money.
Yeah. Sounds good, man.
All right, guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. Have a good night.
Yep. See ya.